Windows updates. I don't think anybody actually likes them, but they're kind of a necessary evil, especially when they restart your computer in the middle of work or something like that with no notice at all. But today's video is going to be about delaying them, whether you should in the first place, for how long, or if you're even able to, depending on your version of Windows. So that's all the stuff we're going to go over today. Now, you may know in the past, I've said many times, you should always keep Windows up to date, and that is very true. But in this video, I need to make a distinction, a very important distinction, between two types of Windows updates, and those are feature updates and so-called quality updates. Feature updates, like the name suggests, they introduce new functionality into Windows. You know, they give you maybe new features to do this or that. They're convenient, and they may be minor updates or major updates. Like every 6 months, Windows does release a major feature update, the most recent one being the so-called April update in April 2018. The other type of update are quality updates, which have things like security patches, maybe bug fixes, and these are mostly behind the scenes updates that probably won't change anything noticeable. It doesn't introduce any new features or change anything that you'd really see on the front end. So there is a big difference between those two, and you can usually control independently when each of those is updated. Now, when it comes to quality updates, what I would say is never delay those. Those have security patches and could literally mean the difference of getting a virus or not, because a lot of times there are exploits that give you a virus, not necessarily just downloading a virus and clicking on it or something like that. So it's extremely important. On the other hand, when it comes to feature updates, in my opinion, it might actually be better to delay those, because a lot of times it will introduce bugs, like new bugs coming along with the new features, and it might just break stuff. I mean, for example, the latest April update, when I installed it, it did break a lot of things on my computer. For example, Steam, you know, the game software, it would just crash throughout the day. Usually I keep it running. I would notice several times a day. It would just crash. I would have to restart it. Another example, I would use this screen recording software, and after I updated, it would just not work. It would freeze, and it was literally unusable. After I reverted to the previous version of Windows, which I will show you how to do that, everything worked fine again. So if you want, you can delay feature updates, and maybe it would be better to do that until they get all those bug fixes worked out a few months down the line. But one question you're gonna have to ask is, can you personally delay updates in the first place? Because this will depend on your version of Windows. Now, if you have Pro or Enterprise version of Windows 10, then yes, you have a lot of leeway when you can delay updates. So for example, if you go to the update options, you can go to advanced options, and you'll see a whole menu of when you want to delay updates, which kind, and that's what we'll talk about first. So in this menu, the first thing you'll see is a header that says choose when updates are installed, and this is specifically talking about feature updates, as it says, not quality updates. And there's a drop down that will give you two options for two different channels, update channels. One is called semi-annual targeted, and then semi-annual. And these dumb names are really not descriptive at all. I mean, targeted, what does that mean? The real difference is that the targeted channel is like the normal channel, like consumer grade. As soon as it's ready to be updated, it's gonna update. Whereas with the semi-annual not targeted, it's basically for businesses and organizations that really can't afford to have anything break. So the semi-annual channel will probably be a few months behind the consumer channel. So really, this is gonna be up to you to decide which one you wanna keep it on. And in a second, we're gonna talk about more options you can do in addition to this update channel. So that might make more sense on which one you wanna pick. So right below that, you'll see another couple of options for delaying both feature updates and quality updates separately. So you'll see the feature update dropdown. You can delay it up to 365 days. So you can delay it really as long as you want, almost practically. I usually keep it at like 30 to 60 days, I think right now, just to keep out all the bugs. Again, like I said, when I updated last time, it broke things. The only reason I updated in the first place was so I could make the new features video. And then after that was done, I just reverted it back. Then when it comes to quality updates, I would keep that at 0 days. I want the quality updates right away. Again, those are security updates, very important. When it comes to the delay, keep in mind that if you keep it on the not targeted channel that's already going to be delayed by several months. And then I believe if you do the feature update delay again, that'll be on top of that. So it might be better to just do the targeted channel and then pick exactly how long you want it to be delayed. And then finally, at the bottom of this menu, you're gonna see an option to pause updates. And I believe this is for all updates, quality and feature updates. And you can do that for up to 35 days. Although I would honestly not recommend doing that at all. I don't know why you would. I don't know, maybe if your computer's never connected to the internet anyway, but then you wouldn't be able to update in the first place. So I really don't know why that option exists, to be honest. I wouldn't recommend doing it at all, but it is there. Now, like I said, that whole menu and all those options are exclusive to Windows 10 Pro and Enterprise. If you have Windows 10 Home, you will not get that menu. And unfortunately, there's really no way you can delay updates for any significant amount of time if you have Windows 10 Home, besides choosing to buy a license for Windows 10 Pro. So you're kind of out of luck there. At least in all the versions of Windows, including Home, there is an option to set active hours. So I would recommend doing this. It just makes it so Windows won't try to restart during the day when you're probably going to be working, which everyone knows is extremely annoying, so you can just set your active hours and it won't bother you during that time. I do want to point out that there is another kind of workaround for delaying updates if you have Home that you might read about, using like metered connections and restricting downloads on metered connections and then setting your LAN to using that. But I actually wouldn't recommend doing that either, because from what I understand, that will delay all updates, again, both security and feature updates. And if it means having to delay security updates, I would not want to delay feature updates out of convenience. So always keep security updates as most recent as you can, no matter what, to be honest. But here's another question. What if you already upgraded to Windows, or it forces you to update and then it actually breaks something? So your computer becomes less usable or totally unusable, and there is actually something you can probably do. I believe in both Home and Pro and Enterprise versions, there should be an option to revert to a previous build of Windows. So let's go over how to do that. What you need to do is go to the settings menu, then update, and look at the recovery tab. And there should be an option to go back to a previous build of Windows. And then if you do that, it will ask you why you're doing that. And then it will warn you that it probably won't remove any files, but you should always back up, of course, anyway. And then it will uninstall any programs that you installed since that previous big update or feature update. It doesn't even have to be a big update. And I did notice it will actually uninstall it. For example, I installed Diablo 3, the game, and sure enough, I had to reinstall it afterwards. So it's not just Windows App Store apps that you installed, it's like everything. But all my other documents were still there. But like I said, after I did that, everything worked completely fine again. Any issues I had with programs not working anymore were fixed after reverting it. So I'm gonna delay that next update for a pretty long time, to be honest. Now, a couple more things you need to know about this feature is it only keeps the files to revert for about 10 days or so. So if you wait too long, you will not be able to revert to the previous Windows at all unless you like reinstall it from scratch or something like that. And also, if you clear out your temporary files or something like that, it might also remove your ability to go back to the previous version, because that will have, again, have cleared out those files that were backed up. Now, after you do go back to a previous build, it shouldn't force you to update again to that one. It says that it will update after the next build comes out, although I'm not really sure if that means like the next major build, which would be like several months later, or like minor builds that they release, which could be, I don't know, even a couple weeks later or less. So just keep in mind that, you know, it might still update not too long after, but at least if it breaks something, then there's a better chance of it not breaking after they fix the bugs, and you might be able to just keep reverting. I'm not sure, depending on how frequent it happens, but it's at least worth a shot. And then, of course, if you do have Windows 10 Pro, you can revert and then delay, but if you have Home, that's all you can do. And another thing, I do believe if you revert to a previous build of Windows, it should still keep getting you the quality updates, just delay the feature one. So again, to quickly recap, in my opinion, it's really not a bad idea to delay feature updates specifically, but when it comes to quality updates or security updates, you don't want to delay those at all, no matter what. I would rather install security updates along with feature updates than not get them at all if I only had that choice. Because like I've said so many times before, keeping Windows up to date security-wise is really just as important, if not more important, than having an antivirus, because so many viruses depend on using exploits that have been discovered and then patched already. So it relies on people not keeping up to date. And if you're someone who's always keeping Windows up to date, you're almost never going to be targeted by hackers and viruses. It's really just a no-brainer. There's really no option here. You have to keep the security updates up to date. So I think that concludes this video. You guys can let me know what you think down in the comments. If you delay your updates, how long, why do you do it? If you had no problems whatsoever, you might be lucky. We can talk about that down there. If you want to keep watching, I'll put some other videos right here. You can just click on those. And if you want to subscribe, I make a couple new videos every single week. So thanks so much again for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.